And we're just standing there watching the cops shooting people with rubber bullets and people throwing stuff. It was chaos. Yeah, my name is Freddy Negrete. I work at Shamrock Tattoo. Been working here about 7 years. I actually started tattooing in the 70s. I was, I guess, a part of a group of artists that pioneered the black and gray style. The Good Time Charlie, Jack Rudy, Ed Hardy, Bob Roberts, Mark Mahoney, and myself, and Mike Brown. Rest in peace. You know, but I started tattooing when I was locked up, and continued when I got out. And at the same time is when Good Time Charlie's had opened up in East LA. So I was tattooing out of my apartment with my prison-made machines and what have you. And then all these people would come to me and say, man, there's a tattoo shop on Whittier Boulevard in East LA, and these guys are doing joint-style tattooing and da-da-da-da. So I was like, wow, man, a tattoo shop doing this? This is crazy. And I used to see Jack's work all the time. Jack Rudy, everybody called him Muero back then. They called me Coyote. Finally, he asked me to come in and talk to him. So I went into the shop, and right away when I went in there, I noticed that designs I created when I was locked up and printed on stationery were on the wall there, you know. So Jack and I hit it off pretty good. It wasn't until later, after Good Time Charlie had become a Christian and quit tattooing. You know, Ed Hardy had bought the shop. You know, Jack mentioned to him, hey, there's this guy Freddy that does this style of tattooing. And Ed Hardy was like, we gotta get this guy over here. And I went down there and they gave me a job right away. And the next 3 years, Jack and I worked together, perfecting and advancing this black and gray style that's so popular now these days. I was used to the prison style machine, you know, the homemade rotary machine. Jack was very helpful in, you know, helping me, you know, make the transition to professional machines and how they were creating the style. I remember when I first met Ed though, you know, because Ed owned the shop, but he lived in San Francisco and worked in San Francisco. When he was gonna come down for the first time, I was like, oh, cool, you know, so I was finally gonna meet Ed. I never saw his work, you know. And when I asked Jack about his work, he's like, oh, it's just that color stuff. We didn't like color at all. We just wanted to do black and gray. So when Ed came down to the shop and had these pictures, picture after picture after picture of just full back pieces, all in color and then mixed with black and gray and color. You know, I'd never seen Japanese work before. I'd never seen tattooing on that kind of a scale. And I was blown away. He kind of took me under his wing, taught me a great deal more about tattooing, colors. This is when there was red, green, blue, and yellow. You know what I mean? And that was it. And Ed would come out, I got this new color, man, it's magenta. You know, it's like, those were the days. So I'd have to say that Ed Hardy had a big influence on me, and they show a lot of it in a new movie, Tattoo Nation. You know, as of late, I really respect and appreciate these amazing youngsters that are doing this great work, you know, Nico Hurtado and Carlos Torres and Steve Soto, Franco Vescovi, Chuy Quintanara, and the list goes on. I can keep going because I have a great deal of respect for all these youngsters. And you know, back in the day, tattooing was done a certain way. You know, it was like traditional style was the style. You know, and Ed Hardy introduced the Japanese style to America, and there was like a fusion going on there. We introduced our black and gray realism to the tattoo world, and people started catching on to that. But I think what we showed was that, you know, tattooing could be more. You could do more, you know, more artful styles than just what was being done. and that trend continues to go. So I mean, we show people and people are showing us today. So I have an open mind to everything that's being done, and whatever I can learn and apply to my work today, I do. I guess maybe 1996 or so, I went to work for Monty at Tattoo Mania on Sunset Strip. And actually, I had worked for him before in 1990 through 1993. You know, I had always heard of Mark Mahoney. That was the first time I had met him and worked with him at Tattoo Mania. We became really good friends. You know, I had my troubles during that time. Ironically, ended up going to prison. Meanwhile, while I was in prison, Mark Mahoney had opened up Shamrock Tattoo. You know, Monty had sold the shop and he wasn't willing to allow me to come and work there when I got out of prison. I already had kind of my own clientele with all the sheriffs when I was locked up. So I started working over here at Shamrock Tattoo, and it's been great. You know, I love Mark. You know, I've been clean and sober now for over 5 years, and just really focused now on my work and tattooing, the things that I love so dearly. People tell me it shows, you know, in my work now. So I guess when you're all fucked up on drugs, you know, or you're just partying, you think you're doing a good job, but you're the only one that thinks it, I guess. I like working here on the Sunset Strip. There's never a dull moment here with all the rock and roll clubs, the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Key Club, the Rainbow. I've seen a lot of things happen. But I think probably the most exciting thing we saw was when TSOL was playing across the street at the Key Club, and you know, this punk riot kicked off, and it was like, it was wild. I mean, with the tear gas, and it was all in front of the shop, and we're just standing there watching the cops shooting people with rubber bullets and people throwing stuff. It was chaos, you know, anarchy or whatever. That was really something. We watched it escalate from a bouncer kicking a guy out of the club. So the crowd was getting feisty outside, you know, and as soon as the cops came, they canceled the show. So the whole Key Club is filled up with all these drunk punkers that want their show, and now it's canceled and they're kicking them out. And when they were coming out the door, the cops were shooting them with rubber bullets as they were trying to get out the door. You know, so that was one of the wildest nights I've ever seen here. I think one of the things that's really changed is that artists that would have never considered tattooing years ago are getting into it, you know. So I think a lot of great artists are finding that they can actually have a good day job with tattooing, you know. The art is good. I mean, I really like what's going on. I just hope that the media doesn't just burn everything out with all these shows and stuff, you know. Like, that's just one of the things I think about. You know, it's like they'll make something so popular and they'll keep doing it until it's no longer popular. You know, with tattooing, I think it'll always hold its edge. It's subculture. It's on the darker side, you know, and I think because of that, it's going to hold strong. You know, I kind of knew that it was going to be popular. Like, when I first got out of Youth Authority, my arms were covered with tattoos, but you didn't see anybody with tattoos anywhere, you know? And I remember I go to Disneyland and those places and wear a tank top, and people would be like, whoa, you know, they'd be like shocked. But the little kids, they were like, wow, look at the tattoo guy, rah, rah, rah. You know, it's like, the kids love it. So as long as the kids love it, then we got a future in tattooing. You know, the day kids don't love it, then you got to start wondering.